KUTX 98.9, Taylor Wallace, coming at you for my latest at-home session. And the artist I'm interviewing today means a whole lot to me personally. I discovered her music a couple of years ago, and I've never stopped showing everyone I know her music since. I am interviewing Australia's Tkay Maidza. Tkay, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. How you doing?
I'm all right. It's hot. And but I'm really, what's the weather like in Adelaide, Australia right now?
I think we're going into spring, so it's been hot like the last couple of days. It's been really lovely, but it's still kind of like at nighttime it's freezing. It's so cold. It's like it's a bit chilly, like chilly for Australians kind of thing, if that makes sense. Like I'm wearing tracksuits, like I'm wearing a vest right now, as you can tell. So I'm like not sure if I'm hot, not sure if I'm cold.
Tracksuits with a pair of new sneakers.
Yeah, literally.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
But it's nice. Like the weather's, it's just calm. The energy over here is like really calm and like quiet, and it's
That's so lovely to hear. And so it was funny figuring out the time difference. So we're recording this in Austin, Texas, and you're coming up to us from Adelaide, which is you're coming to us from Friday morning, and we're recording this on a Thursday night. And I was telling our producer Deidre before this started that I went so far as to like look up why there's that extra 30-minute difference.
Right. Yeah.
And it like goes back to the late 1800s.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't make sense for Adelaide to be in the same time zone as Sydney or Perth because we're in the center. So it's like there's and I think there is like if you go north, I think like Singapore or something, there's a couple other cities up north like on the world map that are in the same time zone, but it just makes sense. Like there's no reason for it to be 5 o'clock here and 5 o'clock in Sydney if there's literally like 1,000 kilometers in between. It's like we're not in line with each other. So
in Texas, the next state over is New Mexico, and they're in a totally different time zone. So I feel you.
Yeah, it makes so much sense.
So when knowing your music and having followed your career over the last couple of years, but also getting to just doing research with different interviews and just kind of like pre-research of getting to know you, if I had to describe you in one word, it's momentum. Right. So you were born in Zimbabwe, moved to Australia with your family when you were 5. Y'all moved to different parts of Australia over the course of your childhood. Then you graduate, y'all call it we call it high school in America, but y'all call it secondary school. And then a year later, your first single comes out, and then your whole like career takes off. And while like your name and your brand and your music are I think they're just now coming to be very popular in America. You've been a well-known name in Australia for almost the last 5-7 years.
Yeah. And
so going from moving around as a kid to this transition and all these different transitions you've done, I've been curious as to how you've transitioned so quickly from like adolescence into being a full-blown professional woman and traveling around a lot. You recorded, you were in the studio in LA, and you've traveled to the UK, Asia, toured in the US and all these different continents. Do you feel like kind of having that more sort of nomadic childhood equipped you well for doing this, or are you just kind of like, I really wish things would slow down?
No, I definitely think it has prepared me for my career and like for my like adult life. I think when I was younger, whenever we felt a bit too settled in a town or just like in a new place, my parents were always like, okay, cool, what's next? Like it was always about what's next. And I think now like the life that I'm living now is almost like a turbo version of what I lived when I was younger. But I think it's just that idea of like, okay, cool, I've had a session, it was cool, what am I doing tomorrow, what am I doing in the morning? And I like that fast pace because I need pace to have that sense of urgency. And then if I have that sense of urgency, then I finish things quicker. Like I think when I'm in like a more is it static or just like stationary, like period of my life, like I don't get a lot done because there's not enough stimulation for me to feel like I'm chasing after something, or like, you know what I mean? Like I need that feeling of having just like things bothering me. And that's what kind of motivates me to just clear the deck. And then I'm like, okay, cool, I need more like clutter and I clear it out. And that's kind of how I've always kind of worked. So yeah.
How has COVID made you adapt to that and being able to fulfill that need to keep going when you can't always do, like, you can't tour right now or anything?
Yeah, I think in the first few months, I honestly didn't do a lot. And I think that was because I finished like the last year was weird too. And then we had a lot of the music for the next project done. So we were just so ahead. And so that time was kind of spent to looking to the visuals and like just the visual elements and the music videos, artwork. And that's what I've been focusing on really the last couple of months. It has been tough to like get a lot done because there's not enough happening. Yeah, there's not enough happening around me. There's not much like people need from me either. So I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. I'm going to go live my life, going to go hang out with some friends that I haven't seen in so long kind of thing. And it's okay. Like, I feel like it's been fine for me to do that. I think it's been a healthy break. Just because I feel like when you're touring a lot, you might get stuck in this like, okay, cool, I'm 23 years forever. And then everyone else around you is growing up, buying houses, doing all this stuff. And you're like, wait, I actually don't know what's happening in like these people's lives anymore. Like, it's been nice to just come back and be like, hey, how are you? Let's yeah.
Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you've toured, like, you're saying you're 23 and you've done so much touring. You've toured the US, including South by back in 2017. South by, like, will it return? I don't know, but like our big festival here. But also you've toured Asia, and so that's so incredible. And I'm curious, like, when you can get back to more whatever the new normal is. Yeah. What stone has not been unturned that you like? What's a place that you really want to go tour?
I really want to go see Russia. Like, I've never been there before, and I received a message the other day from someone being like, we love you in Russia, and I was like, wow, that's so random. It'd be really cool it'd be really cool to see what it's like there. And I feel like I would love to just go back to Europe and Asia as well and see more. Like, I feel like the cool thing about touring is the first time you do it, it's an amazing experience, but I feel like the second time when you go back to these places you've been before, you find out more and it feels more familiar, even though you still don't live there. Like, I love the repetition of going back and seeing more that you didn't see before.
Well, it's like the first time is very like, and then the second time it can be more calculated if you can kind of like think about it through a filter.
Yeah, exactly.
What didn't I do? Because I was just so like about like being
you're just like you're like, well, everything's amazing, everything's so great, this toilet's so cool, and then you're like, wait.
And so the momentum of your career has like been going, and I'm curious, you were part of and I'm going to say it because I want you to tell me more about what it is, the Adelaide Northern Sound System Artist Development Program, which like kind of seamlessly launched into like the release of your first EP, and then like the just taking off of your whole career.
Yeah, so I was going there during my last year of high school. I spent a lot of time there, especially on Mondays. So there was like a class that they had on Mondays where you could go in and record. It was free. Like, I took a 2-hour train. It was like I had to take a train to the city and then go to this other suburb.
Wow.
And yeah, so it honestly didn't feel like that much of a muchness for me, because I was just excited to be there and excited to learn. So it just felt worth it. And in that year that I was still like the first year of me attending the community center, they ended up picking me for that development program that they had. And the terms where you had to deliver like a single and basically just have a press kit to show the industry. And in that like program, I made the first track basically that ended up being played on Trilogy, and that's how labels and stuff were really interested in me. So they helped me a lot in terms of just like learning about industry. Like, we had seminars and stuff that we had to go to for like 2 months, like once a week or so, and you learn about like, when do you need a manager, when do you know it's time to do this and this and this, and how do you like get people's attention. And it's just like, it's like simple stuff, but I think a lot of people, like it's common knowledge that a lot of people know, kind of thing. And it really
Certainly,
helped.
yeah.
Yeah, it really helped. It just helped me understand what the pathway would be for me, especially not being like a pop, like I'm not a pop thing. So it was like, okay, cool, how do you grow in an organic way in the industry instead of like going to a TV show or trying to get like a major label's attention? It's like, how do you write music and become noticed from the music that you write?
Yeah. We have a
Yeah.
similar organization here in Austin called the Austin Music Foundation, which does a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, it's like how these things that you think that in like in a broad sense that you kind of understand, but then you start getting into like the details of it and you're like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have known to do any of these things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just like there's so much information on the internet, even like to find just to read about this stuff. Like I used to read a lot on Sonic Bids, and there's literally articles for literally everything and anything. And when you find out the steps, it just makes it so much easier, and it doesn't seem as daunting, because if you're like, okay, cool, if I make a great song and I find out who these key people are in my city that can help me, things should work out, you know, like if it's good enough. So that was kind of just like how I was thinking and like working kind of thing. I was just like, okay, cool, I need to write as much music as I can, and if the right people are watching me, this should all work out. And I'm lucky it did.
Well, and I'm curious because you've said in previous interviews that you're all about like networking, and every step you take, you're like, okay, how can I manifest this and make this into something, the next step for me? And so
Yeah.
I just bringing it back to the first, how I was introduced to you. You were on this album with Jets, and they're two producers who, and every song on there has like a different art, has like a different artist, and you were one of those on there. So I'm curious how like your manifesting networking led you to that album and working with him.
So I love Jimmy Edagr personally because he had a track on the Vince Staples album that I really admired. And I've always been around in the electronic world, just like in general in terms of music and stuff. And what happened? So I think I was just begging my A&R, my manager, if I could do a session with Jimmy, and it worked out. Like it was kind of one of those situations where we kept organizing it, but it was falling through kind of thing. And then we finally met in person, hung out, we made half a song, and after a couple of months, I think he, just because we had the familiarity of knowing each other like in person, obviously my name would have just been in his mind kind of thing. So he sent me the instrumental for Real Truth, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is like, I can see the song straight away. And it was just like a really quick turnaround as well. So it was just more so you just want to, in that sense, I'm always like trying to meet people and let them understand that I'm chill, I'm a nice person, don't want anything, let's just make good music. And even if we don't make good music, at least you know that I'm just here for you because I think you're really cool. And that's how I try and make my relationships with people, because then it becomes more of a long-term thing as well. Like that's what you want, especially in this business. Yeah.
Well, I'm at me asking you this question just as a huge fan of yours and of that song. So they sent you the instrumental, and then did you freestyle over that? Did you like, whether it was coordinated? Because I mean, that's my own personal nerd question.
I mean, it wasn't a freestyle, but the words just came so quickly. Like there's times where I feel like it takes me a month to like write a verse, and then some people might send me a track and I'm just like, oh, it's already there. Like it's almost like I am freestyling, because that's how easy it is coming to me. And the way the track is growing and flowing, just like the story's already there. And I think that song, the instrumental, spoke to me so clearly that I was like, oh, I don't have any second thoughts about anything that I'm doing right now. And I think that's what happens like with my best songs. It's just so free flowing. And in those moments I am feeling free float, like I am free flowing kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I want to turn attention to your most recent release. Last Year Was Weird, Volume 2, and we've been promised it's a trilogy. And I want to just, before I dive into the details, what can you tell us about the third volume in the trilogy and what that means to you as an artist, creating that texture and that layer?
Yeah, so the first one was about understanding my surroundings and growing and like kind of being like, where am I? Like that's a lot of the questions in the themes of the first EP were surrounding around that. And then I feel like the second one, Last Year Was Weird Too, that just came out, is more so about accepting and kind of just like settling into those emotions and being okay with almost being confused. And I'm really excited for the next one, because I feel like this one is more about just like ascending and like almost like that whole like legends never die, like I will live on forever. That's kind of like the energy that I get from this from this project.
Because the first one is like all about this kind of like existential crisis that you had internally in 2016, and then the second one is like the newest one that came out on August 7th is like, it's kind of the precipice, and then the third one is like the phoenix, right? And so and I know, as being a person, I'll be 30 in November. So having gone through all my 20s, like, and like you change so drastically every single year in your 20s. And you can look to where you can look back like a year ago and you're like, oh my gosh, like, thank God I've grown so much since then.
Totally. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that, especially in like the last 3 years. Just like even when I watch back to interviews that I've had early in my career, it's so interesting you can see I'm becoming a different person every year, or like in every interview. And that's kind of like, that's the only way I can kind of really see myself through another lens and understand that I am changing. Because I do have friends that'll be like, every time you come back, you're literally a different person. But I obviously can't see it because I'm so focused on deadlines and, you know, like, I don't know, just whatever drama's happening kind of thing.
You live with you every minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you recorded a couple songs from this album, including the song You Sad.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the song. I love the album. I love how varied the album is. And I like that when I actually read the Genius lyrics blurb for this song, and I like that you were like, I needed to write some more like lighthearted stuff because a lot of these things on this EP are very angry, and I'm not always an angry person. So I wrote the song about making fun of petty people.
Yeah. I feel like You Sad is like the pinnacle, like TK. That's like quintessential me. Like if anyone who knows me knows that if you've cracked the code of seeing me be petty and like just talk about things that don't matter, but like they're still irking me in a way, like it's like, you know, you've seen me, like that is you've seen all of me. And I felt like whilst I was trying to just be more serious with my artistry with the first EP and with like whatever I'm doing next, I just feel like it's not always serious. And that's when I understood that it's not always about how serious you are. Like sometimes you can have fun and you can express yourself in a lighthearted way. That's when I feel like I had unlocked the like full understanding of like who I was and who I'm trying to be kind of thing. So yeah, it's good to have fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And to kind of bring it all home here, it's the second of this trilogy, but you've said that you feel like you through art is how you express yourself, like in deep levels. And so everything you do is an expression of yourself. And you feel like, you know, it's kind of like when you start releasing songs that are getting a lot of attention when you're a teenager, and you kind of have to break away from that when you start kind of coming into your own, and you're like thinking about when your brain develops enough to where you're thinking about like the whole picture, and how your art is your whole picture. And not only do you have the music, but you have a fashion line also called Last Year Was Weird. And you've said that you hope to keep, again, the word momentum into different textures of art. So I'd really like to hear you talk more about how you find that, like, even through your music videos, the concept is carrying, and how you hope to keep creating your vision through your art.
I think it's like, I feel like you said, I feel like I'm most myself when I'm expressing myself through my music. And if I don't write music, then I feel like I repress a lot of emotions, and I feel like I'm almost, I don't know, almost conforming to like people's expectations of what I'm supposed to be. So I feel like whenever I'm making music, I'm kind of like creating this ultimate version of myself, and then when music comes out, I'm almost sitting into that. So I feel like this is the way I grow and understand life, because it's almost like I'll have a lot of like internal conversations, or like just I'll write songs where I'm not really aware of why I'm writing it, but I'll understand a bit later. And I feel like it's just like I find it fun to push myself and to understand more. Like I'm always trying to learn. That's kind of, I feel like that's why I'm here. Like I'm always trying to just find the meaning of whatever it is. Like if you know my cat is like hugging me or something, it's like I want to Google why. Like I always want to just find out more. Like I always want to learn, because it just excites me, and I think that's why I love to express myself through music and stuff. And like art, really. Yeah.
How does it feel to express yourself through your music when your music is so widely known and loved and ingested?
It's liberating, I think. You know, I feel like for the most sense, when I first started writing music, it was like a outlet because I felt misunderstood. And especially like in my last years of high school, I didn't have a lot of friends just because I felt like I was over meeting new people and bringing new people into my life. So I was like, okay, cool. What if I just create this world where no one can influence it and it's my own thing? And the fact that people are like, oh my God, I love the way you think. I love your lyrics, or like the sounds you choose. It's like, oh, this world that I'm kind of creating is probably better than what like. It's better than, maybe the circles that I wish I could have fit in when I was younger. And that's kind of like what I've always been trying to tell myself. Like I just want to tell myself that you don't have to be like other people. Like you can create your own world. And the fact that other people are like, oh, I love it here, like I want to join too, I'm like, oh cool, great, this is amazing. Like it's liberating. I love it.
It's liberating hearing you express it that way. I'm like, yes
Like,
you've sold me onto your team. I'm there, I'm here for it.
I'm like, I'm realizing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm realizing it as I'm saying. I'm like, wait, I actually do love it here. Yeah.
Tkay Maidza, it has been so nice getting to interview you ever since I started listening to you. You're one of those artists that I like interview in my head and have been interviewing since I've like listened to you. And so now that the opportunity has presented itself, it means a whole lot to me to get to talk to you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Like this honestly has been so lovely.
Well, and the last question I want to ask you, just because of the, again, momentum theme of like, it just radiates off of you, momentum and COVID. What do you feel like organically is the next step? Because I know you've said that music isn't just your only texture. I mean, you have your fashion line, but you're just like, I want to make art. I'm going to make art, all kinds of art. So what do you feel is like maybe your next avenue?
I feel like right now it's just like music, just because
right
of
on.
like, yeah, just because with the, like you said, with the COVID restraints, and I feel like it's anyone's game as well. And I feel like the thing for me that makes me, I don't know, unique is I can do that whole DIY vibe, and that's kind of like, it works so well with my just like branding and stuff. So it's just like a lot of music. We have a lot more music coming out this year, which is really exciting. And then with each drop, I'll probably do like little merch drops and clothing drops, and then eventually next year when everything opens up again, I'll do like pop-up shops and shows, and like cool. Yeah, that kind of vibe. So I think it's just like concentrating more so on this, my musical identity right now is the most important thing, because I feel like it's going really well. So might as well just like get people to really understand that, hey, it's me, you don't really know what to expect, but trust it.
That's a very exciting note to land this on. Oh my God. Tkay Maidza, thank you so much for joining us again. Last Year Was Weird Volume 2. There is a Volume 1 and a whole lot more to her discography to discover. It came out on August 7th. Ingest it however you get your music. Tkay. Oh, and I kept forgetting to say this. I'm also a Tkay. So my name is Taylor, but my middle name is Kay, Kay.
Oh.
And so my nickname growing up has been Tkay. And so again, I feel a kindred spirit with you in that way.
Damn. It's such like a rare nickname as well. Like there are not a lot of TKs, so
no.
it's special.
So I got you. Tkay Maidza, thank you so much. Thanks to your cat for joining us. He has been very animated in the background here, and I appreciate it. You're listening to KUTX 98.9, and you can watch the full video interview of this on our YouTube channel, our website, kutx.org, and our Facebook page. And scene.